Today's tale sees us going over a couple of tips and tricks for how signaling works. When I first started out, I was like, man, signaling is really crazy in this game. Well, it's not all that bad. I mean, there's only two signals, right? But you can start doing some pretty decent things with these things. So I'll go over the first set of signals that really get you going, and that is the overtaking lane. So if you're wanting to get a single line from, say we have a single train going from Luddock to Abilene here, and we wanted to get multiple trains on this line, but we couldn't really afford a double line the whole way. We were a bit strapped for cash. We just wanted a side lane, right? So if we built something along the lines of this, we build another side lane coming out here. We just have to get a signal that tells the tracks, hey, you can only go this way, and hey, you can only go this way. This way, we can fit multiple trains on this line. They'll all queue up here. If we put down a few more of these, they'll queue up to each one. So say there was 3 trains on this line. Actually, we could fit 4 trains on this line, right? What would happen is the first train would come in. He would go, okay, the station's empty. I will go all the way. The second train will roll up, get to this signal right here. He'll stop. He'll go, hey, the train station's not quite empty. I'll wait here. Third train rolls up. He goes, well, there's a train queued here. I'll queue here. And then so on and so on, right? And even going the other way, right? We could have a train come up to here. He goes, well, this station's full, and I'll park here. This guy will then move into the station and come back out. So this is the sort of basic usage of side laning, especially if you're strapped for cash. You can do a couple of these small ones. The tracks don't cost too much, and you can start getting multiple trains on a track. Next up is obviously the big bad boy, is double laning from 2 sets of stations. So over here I've got a double station, and over in here I've got a double set station. And what I've done is I've run tracks both sides to each of the stations, and then I've just set down some signals. So I've just, when I basically place the signal, you just hold down shift and you get this sort of red disc here saying do I want to go this way. You can hit the Q button to rotate it. Obviously I can't rotate on the, well, I can rotate on this one, not on these ones because they're already set, but I can rotate it back and forth pressing shift. Whichever way you face it is the way that the signal works. So a train will queue if it's going in this direction, if it's facing like this. If it's this way, the train will queue in this direction. So I've built a double track up here, and I've put down a number of these directional lines on it. So I could probably get a good 10 trains maybe on this. Obviously the station's not going to handle 10 trains all that well, but if I wanted to back up trains all the way, this is a good way to do it. You can just throw a bunch of these signals down, throw a bunch of trains onto this track here, and they will go for it. You've got to be a little careful with doing this. If you don't do this little crossover track here, so if you don't go from, say I wanted a track here to here and here to here, what will happen is if you don't do that, if I didn't have this at all in here, I missed that one, but if I didn't have this and I didn't have this here, the train, it wouldn't work at all, right? It would get all the way down here. He would get to this end of the station. He wouldn't jump tracks. He just goes, well, I can't get back. I'm broken. I'm done. Either that, or you won't be able to get up, set up the run at all. So if I were to buy a locomotive, we'll get this baby here. If I were to set up this line, it shouldn't actually work. So if we were to go to from here to here, you see you can't even set it up. But if I were to jam down, yes, if I was to jam down one of these babies, from, let's get this done, from here to here, here to here, and then we would jam down this line, so from here to here, it now works, right? And what this lets you do also is, say I wanted the train to come in on the other side in Dallas, I could actually tell it to come in on track 2 instead. So I could fit this guy going to track 2, and then I could actually just buy another train, Let's buy another one. Let's set them up from here to here. And now if I were to set in here, if I were to say track 1, this will work out a lot better. So instead of fully queuing here, so the first train will get here, he'll go over here, he'll dock up. Second train will come in, he'll go here, he'll dock up. So you can get a few more trains into these stations. The AI doesn't really handle it all that well. You have to manually do it. So if you build tracks like this, you can fit a couple in here. You do have to manage it yourself, but so be it. Next up for signaling is obviously if you're doing the single tracks. So over here I've built a single track, right? I've said from Foster Estate to over here, I'm just going to run one train. I know I'm going to run one train. So all I've done is I've put my train in here. I've built a signal, just a one-way direct, a single signal. I don't know what to call it. Just a signal without a direction, really. Here, then all the train does is he'll park here. He'll wait for a free station here. So if you tell him to come in on here, and as soon as this station here becomes free, he'll pile on in. So that's how you do the singles. If you didn't do this, he kind of just stops here. He'll wait for this whole track to be clear before he even leaves here, which is sometimes a bit of a pain. You'd rather he queues here, closer to the station, than just sitting his ass over in Foster Estate. So the next bit of signaling is if we're double ending a station. So you can often get 4 sets of tracks into a double station, or even if we had a large station down, we could have 4 on each side, right? So we could have 8 sets of tracks. And what you want is you want trains to kind of wait as close as they can before they enter in on a station. So if I didn't have this down, he would wait at the next available signal for the station to be clear, right? This one here. So if there was a train that came in, parked himself here, and suddenly the train from way down in Odessa wanted to leave, it would go, nah, sorry, the line's not free. Let me just wait for the station to become free before I even bother leaving. So if you jam down one of these signals here, he'll at least leave, he'll queue here, and he'll go, okay, cool, the station's free on this side, I'll now hop in, right? So that's a good way to do that. The other crazy things you can do is if you want to do a double line into a double line. So say I had a double station down here, and I wanted to get multiple trains on this tracks, right? I wanted to get a whole bunch going either way from my little double station, right? But I'm going into a single line. So this is all I do for my my doubles into a single. Actually, you don't want that. You don't want him queuing there, because that would be, he'd queue across the tracks and screw us, which is not happy times. But if you just build one here, he'll park up here, he'll wait for this whole track to become clear. If you don't build one of these, he'll kind of just, he'll wait at the next available one for the entire line. So you kind of want to get your signals as close to the end as you can for the going in. And then obviously, as soon as he's off these tracks, the next train can go this way once they get past this. Things like supply towers, you got to remember that these also provide stop signals on them. So they count as a signaling system, just either way. So you got to be careful of that. Double into double. So here I've built a double line for this track, and I've also built a double line going this way. So if I wanted to, that's not going in the right direction. Can we delete one of these? So if I wanted to have a double into a double, I would rotate this. There we go. So for a double into a double, I have built signals going this way, signals going this way. So the trains will come here, they'll park here, wait for the tracks to become clear. They'll come here, they'll park here, wait for the tracks to become clear. Next up, they also can cross. So I've built a little bit of a crossing here. I'll show you the crossing right now. So in here, I've got a bit of track going back the other way. So I know that the trains travel this way, they'll cross over here and they'll go here. So if I show you this, so we can see the directional is here. This is a directional changing tracks, and then onto here he'll hop, right? So this is the only bit that he can hop back on, otherwise it's all going this way. So this is how I do signaling for a double onto a double. What other signaling do I have? You can do the side tracks, you can do the single tracks, and what else do we have? Yeah, you can do crossing across crossing. So if I wanted to be running minerals from here up to whatever city is up here, then the way I do this one is I will run a little bit of track. Sometimes I'll run the doubles so that I've got sidelings if I wanted to run trains that way. And then all I've done is I've just run a bit of track across here. So what will happen is the trains will park here. I could even have a single stop here, depending on how many trains you're running on this track. If I was running multiple trains, I probably wouldn't put this down. I would just get as close as I could with my sidling. Otherwise, if I was only running one train with no sidlings, then I would just, let's get rid of some of these, and we will, where's our signals? Yeah, signals. So if we make this a direction like that, and we get rid of these, we'll just, you know what, we'll just delete these. Get out of here, baby. Get out of here. So if I just built some tracks like this, I would build a, I'd build a signal here. So if anything was blocking this track, at least he would get to here. He would leave. If I didn't do that, he would just park his ass somewhere way back at the station while he waits for this track to become clear. I would also probably build directionals here and a directional here, so that if this track is occupied by a train crossing across it, then what will happen is trains going on these tracks will park up here, trains going on these tracks will park up here, and we will happily get across this little track. And that's it. That is it for signaling in Railway Empires. There's not too much to it. Mostly it's just about getting these double lanes up, and remembering to put these sort of non-directional signals at least close to here if you're doing only single trains. If I was doing double trains, I definitely wouldn't have these directional signals. I would have sidling lanes as close as I could. So if I was building a sidling lane here, I would get it real close. I would go, how close can we get you, baby? So I would get as close as I could, probably to around here. Looks pretty good. And then of course we would have the directionals. You sir, and you sir. So at least the train will get to here before it stops. It's always good to get things as close as you can to these intersections before you do anything. Although if I was doing this, I would probably go the other route, which would be this double here, to get a double onto a double, instead of a double into a single, since you're causing a few issues just here. And that is my tips and tricks for signaling. Hey guys, thanks again for watching. If you like what you've seen, hit that subscribe button or leave me a comment on anything you want to see in the future.